But at any rate, let's hop into it. Ed, it's great to meet you, sir. Thank you for taking a minute out.
Sure, sure.
I love your story, and as a creative, I want to know 5 years ago, the pandemic began, threw everything into a tailspin. How much of surviving a pandemic as a creative has reverberated into what you do and who you are today?
I will tell you that the pandemic came at a really weird time for me because a year before, um, I told my business partner I had founded co-founded a not-for-profit, and we started. It was just two of us, and we started in her son's extra bedroom. He went to college, and we just cobbled this nonprofit together. It was to give older adults the opportunity to learn any kind of art making, whether it's visual arts, literary arts, whatever it was. Anyway, we started this in 2008. So right before the pandemic, I told her, she was younger than me. I said, "Look, I'm retiring in a year." And so the pandemic hits. Uh, we're all working out of our homes, and I had told her I'm going to start cutting my time back. So the days I wasn't working, I started writing in more earnest. I had dabbled a little bit because I had been acting and directing and writing some plays, but I wanted to write some more. And I started doing this, and it really sort of fueled my getting back into it, because I thought to myself, what am I going to do with retirement? And this is a big thing for me. Um, Looking at retirement. So I looked at people that I knew, and their um, their incentive for retiring was not having to work. They weren't going toward anything. They were just backing off from something. And I said, I can't have that. I want to go towards something. And I'm going to try to focus my time on writing as much as I can. Here's the thing, when you don't have to go to work, anything you do, anything you want to create is completely based on your own incentive.
Yeah.
Nobody's waiting for you to show up at the office. You're not getting a paycheck. It's basically, if you want to do this, you have to create the energy yourself
Yep.
to do it.
Yep.
So I was hoping I would have the energy, and not just the physical energy, but the will to actually say to myself, okay, this is what you're going to do with your time. You said you want to do this. Let's see if you really do it. Because I had a lot of friends who said to me, a lot of people in the theater community who said, oh, when I retire, I'm going to go on auditions, I'm going to get headshots, and I'm going to do this and that. None of them did it.
Yeah.
They just said, I'm glad not to be working. I'm glad not to have to commute into the city, which I get. Believe me, I get that.
Yeah.
Um, but it's like, what are you doing? What are you doing with your time?
Yeah. So let's get to the heart and soul of what you do right now. You mentioned the nonprofit. There's all these other avenues you mentioned, being in acting and directing. If I put you in front of a bunch of grade school kids, fifth graders, career day, the kid in the back of the room is like, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" How do you answer that child?
I think I would have to focus on the thing that has probably given me the most purpose, which is uh, working with working in the nonprofit field, and that kind of brings together two pieces. I'm not quite sure which one I would speak to first, but one, probably the more accessible, is the idea that I worked a lot with older adults and their families. So I ran, for instance, a caregiver support group. Now, I don't know if those resonate for a fifth grader, but they all have grandparents,
Yeah.
and they know what it means to they know what old means.
Yeah.
And a lot of them might see their grandparents, fading. So that's a lot of what I would say to them is make the people, like their grandparents, make their lives easier, and make their mothers and fathers taking care of them lives easier. Um, I'd probably talk about that, and then in connection with that, with people who are older and, a little more vital, give them opportunities for growth, not just have them sort of sit in their home and watch, let's make a deal, but basically create opportunities for them to do things with their lives.
Yeah. So what did you want to be in the fifth grade? What was your dream life?
I wanted to be I, wa- I wanted to be Mel Allen. I wanted to be on the radio announcing Yankee games.
I love it. I love
That's what
it.
I wanted to do.
So take me back to your childhood. How do these foundational elements of getting into the nonprofit, helping people, getting into acting and writing and how did all of this happen?
When I got to high school, I decided I wanted to be a guidance counselor. And by the time I got to college, and I was looking at graduate schools, I found the pathway into being a guidance counselor um, uh, difficult. So I focused on, I needed a field placement for graduate school, and I was desperate, and I found one in the senior citizen center. And that's what started this. I ran this group at a senior center, and I got really interested in how people age differently because I ran this discussion group, and I saw a woman in the group. I'll never forget this. She was like 85 years old and just full of energy and determination and just really vital. And there was another woman who was maybe 60 who was like she was done. She was just that, and I thought, man, there are so many different ways people can age.
Yep.
How does that happen? So that kind of got me on the path to thinking about this, in a more substantive way. And I had these jobs afterwards where I worked at a senior center. I ran a home care program for older people, and then parallel to that, and actually this is funny because I didn't see my first stage play till I was in my 20s, and I didn't get on stage for the first time till I was like 30 years old. But I was in this community in the Bronx. There was a community theater, and the people who ran it would come into my father had a candy store on in the Bronx, and they would come in. They would tell me, "Come to the show, come to the show," and I started coming to the shows, and I thought, "Wow, that looks interesting. Maybe I could do that." I had no training. I didn't go to college for any of this, and I started taking these little parts and then I started getting more parts, and then I started directing, and I started writing, and it snowballed from there.
Snowballed. So I just got to say real quick, Mel Allen's voice is going through my head. It's the soundtrack to my childhood. 'Cause, dude, he did This Week in Baseball, and it was just, you knew when that voice came up and that triumphant music came up, you're like, everything's okay. The whole world's fine. This is the glue that keeps my soul intact. I love it. It was so good. So let me ask you this. In the realm of plays, in the realm of acting, who was a hero or who was a creative force that you looked up to that inspired the way that you approached your voice?
Oh boy, that's hard. There's a playwright who is now gone, named A.R. Gurney. And A.R. Gurney made his mark basically off Broadway. He didn't have a lot of major successes on the big commercial stages, but he was very prolific off Broadway. He's produced all over the country. And here's the funny thing about my interest in this guy's work. He writes mostly about his background, which is upper middle class, white Anglo-Saxon Protestant, upstate New York, nothing remotely related to my life. But there's something about his work that I just kind of grabbed onto,
Yeah.
and the situations that he places his family and people in his life. I'm just always impressed with this, and it just really was one of those artists that really sort of inspired me.
As a humor writer, I'm curious, are you familiar with Miranda July and her work?
A little bit, a little bit.
Man, she is hysterical. She just had a book that came out last year. That it's a big book winner. They're probably going to make it into a film. She is hysterical. She's like reading Billy Collins' poems. You got to stop and be like, "Oh my God, it won't stop." It's like being under a waterfall. It won't stop coming down, and you need a minute to breathe. But
I was just reading about her today. There's a film. The Times has a little thing about films you might have missed, and it was one of her films that was on that list. And I remember making a note of this that I need to watch this
yeah,
because I keep hearing little things about her and stuff, and I think I want to do this. Billy Collins, by the way, was taught in taught at Lehman College in the Bronx for a
yeah,
while.
right. That's right. I remember that. That was during the whole poet laureate and all of that. But yeah,
Yeah.
I just read Run Dog Run, I think was his latest one, which is just I have to take that in small digest. I use that whole 3 week window from the library and just milk it for all it's worth. I love it. Um, so let me ask you this. How do you view working and your personal life? What gets you up every day? Do you find balance is a big deal as far as like nurturing your soul, doing nonprofit work, being creative? How do you from a philosophy standpoint, how do you deal with all of that every day?
One of the things I think the way this started for me when I was first doing community theater, I was working full time, and so was everybody else, by the way. So you learned how to figure out how to manage this. I mean, it usually meant learning your lines on the subway, going to work. It was sort of built in to do that. Um, when my work life balance shifted, and I wasn't working so much. Um, One of the things that I miss a little bit is that involvement in non-for-profit. So what's happened to me since I retired from Lifetime Arts is that um, I take these opportunities, which I'm actually in one right now. I'm on a panel for the New Jersey State Council on the Arts that is giving grants for creative age, what's called creative aging programs to New Jersey organizations. And I'm one of the panelists. So what I've been doing for the last 2 weeks is reviewing grant applications. So it's sort of a way for me to sort of contribute to this, to this field that, I feel very strongly about doing. So I'm sort of managing to keep a toe in the water as it happens.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. If you can meet anybody alive on the planet right now, whether they're in the realm of acting or otherwise, that you find inspirational, that you'd like to pick their brain, see how they roll, is there anybody out there you'd love to meet?
Wow. That is That's an amazing question. Um, gee, I don't know. I think that hmm, I don't know. I I could probably come up with somebody. Who would I want to meet? Man, that's hard. Um, maybe uh, maybe somebody like Richard Russo,
Yeah.
uh, who wrote, Nobody's Fool and all these books. I kind of got into this thing about reading his books. It's like what I did in the 70s. I read all of James Clavell. Now I'm reading all of Richard Russo's books. So, right now, Feet to the Fire, he just jumps up to me. Actually, he's another person. Now that I really think about this,
Yeah.
I'm really fascinated with is Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, because what he's been able to do is kind of astounding.
Yeah.
And it would be nice. It would be nice, to have, dinner with a bunch of creatives like that and see what they have to say. Just like lay back and say, let them chat.
So with Russo, what book would you recommend? I need to check this cat out.
Oh, I have a whole list of
The Destiny Thief, is that a good one? Empire
Yeah,
Falls?
but no, there's the one they made into a TV series. Uh,
Nobody's Fool?
no, they made it into a TV series, a limited TV series with Bob Odenkirk, and it
Oh,
was called Lucky something Lucky.
okay, okay. I know what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about. That
Yeah,
that
the
gets me
book
there.
that's based on.
Okay. All right. I need to hop into it. You got my brain spinning. So let me ask you this. If you were to be put in front of a podium of people that know you kind of in a business professional, more serious sense, and you could
Yeah.
walk up to that podium and tell them one fun story, one fun adventure that you've been on, maybe the first concert you ever saw, just something really cool you could tell that room that would humanize you in a different way. What would be a great story you could tell that room?
Um, I'll tell you what would humanize me and to people. And this is a true story, and it's actually I put it in my book. I was during the pandemic. My wife had to go to Phoenix to see her dad, who's widowed and living in Phoenix. And I'm being from the Bronx. I drove very late in life. I don't like driving, but I drive. And because it was the pandemic, I didn't want her to take a cab. So I figured I'll drive her to the airport. Now, my wife is somebody who grew up driving. She loves driving. She's really comfortable. And I said, okay, I'll take you to the airport, which really meant she's going to drive the car to the airport and I'll drive home.
Yeah.
Um, but I have no sense of direction, none. I'm terrible. So all the way out, she's telling me, okay, this is how you get back. And she's giving me all these landmarks and telling me what to do. And she keeps saying, when you get out of the Newark airport, you go to 78 East. Remember, 78 East. And I'm repeating it to myself like a Catholic schoolboy repeating his catechism. I'm just like really my head. Get her dropped off. I get out of the airport in one shot, which is amazing, you know. Um, and I'm going on 78 East. I'm on the highway. I'm great. My tire blows out.
Oh no.
So the traffic is like there's traffic coming this way, and there's a little median. So I pull into this median,
Oh
but I
no.
can't get out of the car because there's traffic going this way, both ways. I call AAA. They say to me, "We can't come to your highway. You have to call the New Jersey Turnpike Authority." So I called the Turnpike Authority. Half hour later, they show up. They come behind me. I jump out of the car. The guy yells at me to stay in the car. I go back in the car. He puts the donut on my car. He said, "This isn't going to get you home. Go two exits. Jersey City. There's a tire place. They'll give you a new tire." So I fine. I go. I'm driving 5 minutes. The spare blows.
Oh no. Oh my God.
So now, what the fuck am I going to do? So I drive. I see there's like a parking lot, a turnpike parking lot. Of course, nobody's there because it's the pandemic. I pull in there, at least I'm off the highway. I call AAA. I'm off the highway. Can you get me? No, it's still the Turnpike Authority. So I I call the Turnpike Authority. They send a flatbed, put the car in the flatbed, take me to the tire place. I'm sitting in this dumpy, office. They put a tire on the car. I'm so paranoid about a blowout. I got an extra tire, put it in the
Oh,
trunk.
yeah.
I see the sign right by the garage. The garage, it says 78. It's great. I get on 78. I'm going in the wrong direction.
Oh no. Oh
So
no.
finally, I get off. I don't know what to do. I'm driving around Jersey City. The GPS is telling me to this, but it looks like a dead end. It looks like where they buried Jimmy Hoffa. And so I finally find the entrance to 78 East. Now, of course, it's rush hour, which I was hoping to avoid. And I'm white knuckle driving home to New Rochelle, where we were living at the time. And I finally get there, and I just said, I put the car in the apartment house parking lot, and I said to the car, "I hope you're happy because I'm not moving you ever."
This is the best story I've gotten for this question. I absolutely love that. Oh my God. So lightning actually does strike twice.
No,
Wow. So, of all of these adventures and everything you've done and accomplished in your life, what are you ultimately the proudest of?
think I'd have to say the thing I'm proudest of is the the creation and the growth of Lifetime Arts, because we started this, like I said, in an extra bedroom in my colleague's home, and it's grown. We started working in 8 libraries in Westchester County, and the organization, it was just two of us. Nobody was getting paid, and there's now a staff of 10, and the programs are run throughout the country.
I love it. You know, the thing about the heart of a New Yorker is there's this strength, there's this grit, there's this sentimentality, there's every good thing from a Sinatra song that's in there. And I'm curious in these 2025 times we're living through. It's very odd, very strange. There's so many ripples of nonsense going on. Are you hopeful? Where are you at right now in the realm of helping people, being a creative, looking at things from a humorous standpoint? Are you okay with what's up?
Well, there's part of me, of course, that's horrified, but to answer your question, I am hopeful because I do think that we have the capacity to persevere. And it's very timely for you to ask that because I've been thinking about this a lot. And my niece, who is in Boca Raton, Florida, my niece Michelle Stallone, started on her own. Like, she's an X-ray technician. She started a charity for women who cannot afford mammograms and follow-up visits.
Wow.
And she's grown this into this huge thing. She still works, she still has her job, but she spends her time doing this thing. It's called Pink Ball, and it's grown tremendously in Florida. And she's won all these awards. And she's just an amazing kid. She's 50 years old.
Yeah.
Um, she's a little my niece still. But but my sister sent me this picture of her because she just won an award, and I put it on Facebook. I don't do a lot of stuff on Facebook, but I use I put the Margaret Mead quote in, which is, I'm going to paraphrase, the only thing that changes the world is a group of committed people,
Yeah.
a small group of committed people. I don't remember the exact quote, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, totally.
Um, and basically I said, look, here's what we can do now. We can affect change. We can do stuff,
Yep.
and we can make people's lives better. And look at what my niece did.
You're totally right, man. What a great story. And that's the thing I'm always reassured by interviewing so many different people on the planet. There's so much strength, there's so much vitality, there's strength in numbers, and ultimately at the end of the day we're talking about a democracy, and we are the democracy. We are the blue collars. We are the ones that are going to keep this alive. And that New Yorker spirit's going to be damned if anybody's going to come in and take it away. Right?
Right.
So let me ask you this. At the end of the day, everyone has a perception of you. Family, friends, colleagues, fans, everyone that knows you, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Um, I think I'm basically a nice guy who's marginally talented in a lot of different areas, not not extremely adept at any one thing. I kind of juggle a lot of different things, and I, I'm just keeping it moving.
I love it. So, Ed, if anyone wants to reach out to you, they want to find out what you're doing with your nonprofit, anything creatively, you're writing, and any of the good work that you've done in your life, where's the best place for people to go?
Um, I do have a website for my writing, which is edwrite, WRITE 1.com. Um, and people can email me. I'm on adlib501 at Hotmail.
Okay, excellent. Ed, this has been wonderful. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your story. Thank you for your time. Keep changing the world, man.
Thanks, Joe. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Hello, friends. Joe Dimino here. I just wanted to let you know that after 30 years or so, I have finally released my first book of poetry through the mighty Spartan Press here in Kansas City, Missouri. As the creator and host of both Neon Jazz Radio and the Famous Interviews with Joe Dimino podcast, along with being a visual artist, I'm ready to embark on a new adventure and want you to be a part of it. You can get a copy online via Barnes & Noble, Amazon, and actually on the streets in Kansas City at the great Prospero's bookstore off 39th Street. You can also visit joedimino.com for links to the book, to more poetry, and everything in my world, including paintings. Thanks for all of the love and support over the years, and please dig the words.